suspense.
Dead.
Now then, I try to think whether there is any institution in modern society that really corresponds to the court fool.
Oh!
There is, of course, the political cartoonist, there is the satirist, there is the commentator, but he doesn't sit in the president's office, and the president can ignore him altogether if he so chooses. We don't like, nowadays, anyone to suggest that our social institutions are not altogether serious. We can't stand it because we're much too insecure. And this is a very dangerous state of affairs. And so it really is high time that in many ways the institution of the fool
Jesus.
is introduced. I want to point out a parallel to this. In some ways, the fool, or the joker,
Feral.
and the monk have a parallel function.
Build online, Bach.
The monk is a person who abandons society.
Dude, learn a different game. Learn Mario 64.
He is an outlaw. Only he's an outlaw on the
that
upper
game's just
side
as
instead
hard.
of
What
on
the
lower
fuck?
side. As the ordinary criminal is, as it were, below caste, the outlaw, in the sense of the monk, is above caste. And in the Buddhist religion, at its inception, the followers of the Buddha wore those
Who would have
Jesus.
expected
dark
that?
yellow robes because those were the garments of criminals. It's just as if today we were to take the kind of blue jeans they wear over in San Quentin and go around in those.
Dude, just think about it this way.
Or the
All those
old-fashioned
resets
striped
because
things that
there
put
were
on
no villages
their
or shit nethers.
And so they
That could be
took
practice
on
time.
the garments and external appearance of the lower outcast, but they were in fact respected as upper outcasts. But in modern society,
Be learning
it is
that-
very difficult
That
to be in that
pineapple
position.
skip or whatever the fuck it's called.
For example, in such a true republic as France,
Pineapple stick.
every monk and priest is subject to military service.
I've tried to learn that before.
That is not true in the United States.
You try
Nor
very
should you.
hard.
Fucking
apparently.
hard.
They are not quite so Republican as the French. But in this kind of modern society, more and more, you must belong. As Thoreau said, wherever you may go, men will seek you out and compel you to belong to their desperate company of oddfellows. And the monks that exist today, Catholic monks and Anglican monks, are really a little bit of a freak in our society. They don't. They represent, in other words, the opinions and the discipline of a particular sect. They're not really no actual official and social recognition. Because you see, our society cannot stand non-participation. It cannot stand really fundamental criticism. And so it's in a very, very weak state. I remember as a boy in London going off into Hyde Park Corner and listening to people
And
orate
Hyde Park?
against anything they wanted to orate against. They could
We got bit by a
criticize
squirrel in
and
Hyde Park.
vilify even the most sacred institutions.
Dude,
And
how
priests would
mad
come
is
by
Vintage right now?
and, pay no
This?
attention, sort of lean against the lamppost and let it all go on. And that's because the people as a whole in those days had a tremendous sense of security. They knew they were right, and therefore there's no point stopping anybody from criticizing you. But when you're not sure you're right, you have to stifle criticism completely. And the worst kind of criticism is the person who pokes fun. Non-participation of the monk isn't so bad, but the person who somehow suggests that society occasionally is something that needs to be giggled at. You see, this is the whole position. The Joker doesn't outrightly deride things. He's not a slapstick comedian. He gives people the giggles about things that they thought were terribly sacred. And that is extremely demoralizing. So, in our day and age, you see, you must belong. And we need to relax on this and allow for non-participation under certain conditions, and these are the ancient conditions. That the person who does not participate in society cannot call upon society for certain things. He cannot call upon the protection of the police or of the army. He cannot call upon education for his children. He's not supposed to have any children. He may, I suppose, in this day and age, make what arrangements he chooses about his love life. But he mustn't be the head of a family, and he mustn't feel entitled
I got
to the
fucking
protection and
destroyed.
support of the community. If the community respects him and wants to support him just out of its own free will, then that's their affair. So that's the way of the monk. But the fool is in a different class from the monk. And to understand his role fully, we have to go into a number of preliminary things, the most important of which is to understand the nature of a social institution. Because you see, the standpoint of the fool is that all social institutions are games. He sees the whole world as game playing. And that's why when
My
people
game's
take their
buggy.
games
Your AM is
seriously
freezing.
and put on stern, pious expressions, the fool gets miserable. Because he knows it's all a game. Now, when I say that he sees everything as a game, this does not mean mere game. Hamlet, although it's a play, is not mere entertainment. Or when you go to listen to a great orchestra, it is playing music indeed. But you are not seeing something purely frivolous. The idea of game, basically, is this, that the nature of the world is music. That is to say, it is doing all these forms of trees and stars and people and all their complexities just to do them. It has no purpose beyond doing it. And in exactly the same way, in music, music has no destination. It isn't aimed at the future. It does travel in time, that is true. But it doesn't aim at a goal in time. The point of music is every phrase as it unfolds itself, and as you perceive the relationship of those phrases to earlier and later phrases.
I don't trust like
But
that.
music itself is dance.
What?
It's dancing with sound, and likewise in the art of dancing, you are not traveling. You are not aiming at a particular place. You are dancing to dance. And so what you might call the musical or game theory of the world is that everything that is happening is its own point. It's true that things do develop. For example, the seed develops into the tree. And you might say, from one point of view then, that the point of the seed is
Give
the
me
tree.
iron.
That's the purpose of the seed. But that doesn't really hold up.
Really?
Because then the tree goes and has seeds again. And so you might say then that the purpose of the tree is the seed. Which is which? The whole thing is one process, you see. They really aren't parts. The seed isn't one event and the tree another. It's all one long continuous event, going on and on, just
You
for
like
the sake
film?
of going on and on. Now, of course, you can read purpose in it in another way. That is to say that a tree is only possible in a certain kind of environment. There have to be, for there to be trees, there has to be a certain kind of temperature, a certain kind of atmosphere, and there have to be insects, and there have to be bacteria in the soil, and there have to be weeds, there have to
Brad,
be
you
birds.
listen to, like, Richard
All
Dawkins
kinds
or
of
something?
things
Like,
are
what the fuck
necessary
is
if
this?
trees are to live.
It's
So you could say this is symbiosis, that the
Alan
tree
Watts.
lives to look after the birds and provide them with perches, that the birds live to eat the worms which might destroy the roots of the tree, and so everybody lives to support everybody else. Well,
listen
the
to
word
Reggie
to,
Watts
or in
instead.
order to,
True,
is not
much
quite
more
correct. It's a little
enlightening,
clumsy.
I'll be honest.
What we should see rather than that is that the whole
fuck is
relationship
that?
of trees
What
and
shit's
birds and
that?
worms and bees and so on
Yeah, I just got
is a
first
network.
fucking trade pearls.
And every aspect of the network, you might say every part
And
of
I don't know how
it,
to
depends
feel
for
about
its
it.
existence on every other part. That means, you see,
Probably
that the
good.
network as a whole is
I
a
haven't
single
found a
organism.
fucking fortress or anything.
Just as in your own physical body, and you call yourselves a single organism, there are billions
Give
of
me
creatures
fucking iron, dude.
of very different
I
kinds.
just need one.
And they're all running around inside your bloodstream.
Oh my god.
And doing their stuff. They're having battles.
I fucking
love
hate
affairs,
this game.
All kinds of things. And this huge variety
Why?
of stuff
Because you have
going
14 pearls?
on constitutes your life as an individual.
Because
And so
when
in
I
turn,
need pearls,
you
I don't
are
get
some
pearls,
kind of
and
a
when I
little
don't
wiggle
need
in
pearls,
some other sort
I
of
get
stream,
pearls.
which constitutes the
Now all you
larger
have to do is find a
organism
fortress. So
yet. And
even if
but
it's
really,
far,
truly,
you'll still save time
this
over
tremendous network
not getting pearls.
doesn't have any separate parts. It's not like a machine.
Oh my god.
A machine is a lot of separate parts that are put together. Whereas this is different. The parts of this machine, of this network, don't come into it from outside. I mean, when you drive your car up to the shop and you want a new carburetor or something, they pull the old one out and they take another one off the shelf and jam it in. So it comes off the shelf into the car. But in this network of life that we live in, things don't come in from outside. Everything that comes into it comes from inside, which is a giveaway that the whole thing is really one process, and it's all a game, because in the sense that it has no other object than doing what it's doing. That's the fun of it. But it plays, you see, parts. It varies itself. And in playing always involves a certain element of make-believe. That is to say, illusion, and the word illusion is from the Latin ludere, to play. It involves the illusion of the parts being played. And so then,
I love how I can tell that that's just your Beans
there are
impression.
these variety of games. The tree game,
Easy.
the beetle game, the butterfly game,
Like
the
that's
bird
actually
game,
just
the
Beans.
cat game,
Yeah, because Beans is
the
fucking
people
weak.
game.
Beans is the like
Who would say
literal
that type of shit?
incarnate of
And if
that.
you look on all
Dude,
these things
exactly.
as
Exactly.
differentiated in the same way as chess and backgammon and football and hockey and polo, or as rumba, waltz, twist, minuet, or again as concerto,
He almost
partita,
said the real
fugue,
one.
sonata,
I heard it.
you will begin to see that it's a perfectly reasonable attitude to look at the world as a gaming system. Now, you see, looking at the fundamental game, what we call physical and biological entities or events. But over and above those, we have the social subdivisions. The subdivisions of the Now then, the social subdivision is of many kinds. It's not simply things like marriage and the family,
Jesus, this is Chad.
the various forms of government, the institutions of the government, like the public health department. It's not just things like hospitals and banks and business corporations. It's not even money only, that's a social institution. So are all our measures, timing, our clocks. And you see, what makes these things social institutions is that they are, in another sense, conventional. Things that we agree upon. Like that in convenere, to come together. We come together in agreement about where the equator is and where longitude 0 is. And by agreeing about these things, we can order our lives, order our conduct.
Oh my god, how many of them are there?
I have
I'm
sometimes
going to new
mentioned
fucking
the
spawner. Fuck this shit.
Buddhist and, well, they're mainly Buddhist divinities who you see guarding temple gates. And they're called the heavenly kings, and they're always very fierce.
Dude, why are there so many
And they are the guardians of the 10 directions.
fucking
In Buddhism,
wither
Buddhist philosophy, there are 10
skeletons?
directions.
God
There's
damn it.
8 points of the compass, and up and down.
Get out of here.
And it's terribly important to keep the 10 directions clear, because if I'm not clear about it, I could never meet you at the corner of 5th Avenue and 42nd Street. So I wouldn't meet you at all. I could never have a date without knowing the 10 directions. And so these Dharma kings are the cosmic traffic cops. And they're
The
keeping
fuck's
everything
the other
straight so that
spawner?
everybody can know where they are.
Thank God.
So these are the guardians of the social institutions. The agreements we have to make about money and language and law. And also about certain values. Some of these values vary from they are still social institutions. Did you realize pain is a social institution? In some cultures, like ours, it's very unpleasant
Oh,
to
we
go to the
dropped a
dentist.
bow?
But there are cultures in which dentistry is no problem at all. But on the other hand, they have extreme pain when their fingernails are cut or their hair is cut.
Come on.
We are very largely talked into pain
Oh my God.
in extreme childhood. And there is enormous what may be considered pain. And I think it's not only human beings who do this, but animals do. Experimentation with hypnosis shows that pain is an extremely relative thing. Maybe you have to have pain, but where you have it is very, very variable. Also, we know too that social institutions govern what we notice.
Don't have.
An American male pays relatively little attention to the back of a girl's neck. It's perfectly okay for her to grow her hair down long and cover it. But to a Japanese,
What?
the back of a girl's neck is the most attractive thing to see. And so when you see a well-dressed Japanese girl, her kimono hangs a little bit down the back like this, exposing her neck. They pay no attention, though, to breasts. To so fascinating American males. There's just something to see. And the way that a traditional Japanese woman clothes herself is exposing the neck, but looking very flat in front, and not at all showing the hips. She's willowy. She doesn't look very willowy underneath, as a rule, but she does when dressed in a kimono. Now, you see, it is that nature has built into the human organism
How?
features about other people. It's the social
They
institution
hitting me
of what is to be
fucking
attractive.
through this shit.
And of course, this comes out very,
Pissing
very
me
strong.
off.
Vagaries of fashion. And how do we want hair painted, etc., etc.
Oh my God.
But now, social institutions go a great deal deeper than anything we've mentioned. And the most important kind of social institution is that which has to do
Go for it, Riley.
role play.
Jam it in there.
Now,
Forced it good.
when we ask the question, who are you? People think of this question in two different ways. One person, when asked, who are you, will answer, I'm a doctor. Another person will fall silent because he realizes how profound the question is. He realizes that he's been asked what his ego is. But a lot of people don't realize that when they're asked who are you. I've noticed just a little bit of difficulty in my investigation of discussing identity with people. That they
How are you leaving me? Get out of here.
and use that to describe their identity. Their name, their family,
Please, dude.
their place in society,
It's so
what
fucking
they do,
annoying.
what their hobbies are, and so on. All these are roles. And then also there is the role of character played. All people are more or less act. We are all actors. And we do schools in acting in our childhood, although it wasn't called that. It was called education. It was called upbringing, but a great deal of it is schooling in acting. And you very soon learn as a child from your peers and from your parents what acts are appropriate and what are not. It is the concern of all
Where
parents
did I come from?
that their child learns a role in life and has an
Oh my
identity
God, fuck
by which
off.
the child can be recognized. It would be extraordinarily disconcerting, wouldn't it? If a child had one personality one day and another the next. Children can do that. You have to remember as a child you were many different personalities, depending on your environment, that you were one person at home with your parents, you were quite a different person out alone with other children. Then when you went to visit your uncle and aunt, you were somebody else altogether, and so on. And finally, the whole trend of education is to shake all this down and make you more or less constant in every sort of social environment that you enter so that everybody knows who you are. Otherwise, it's disconcerting, you see. So we are made to believe that we have a real self. That is to say, somebody who we really are and whom we have to find. To find yourself, to settle down, to grow up.
How do you do
Means
what?
to fit into a role. And there are
He's
a lot of
hiding
people
behind the
who are
fucking...
troubled in our
Dude,
society
why is everything so hard?
because they just can't
I
find the
literally
role
said,
that they're supposed
"Hey
to
guys,
fit.
let's throw," and then we did.
They
Like
don't
3
know who
times, too,
they are.
not
There is
just
an inner
one.
pandemonium of conflict. But it's obvious, isn't it, that the role you play is a social institution.
That is a tie that binds.
You can't be an object
Throwing with your
to
boys.
your own consciousness, at least not in the ordinary way. You are a subject from your own point of view.
I mean, they
And you
need
can
it
only
now.
become an object to the extent that you adopt
So-
the attitudes that
I
other
mean, that's
people
a
take
commend
towards you.
everyone kind of.
Other people, from the beginning of life, are mirrors. And by the way they respond to you, you begin to learn what they think of you, and therefore who you are. We all
Kind
tell
of
each other who we are. And so the role we play, the identity that we have in that sense, is a social institution. But going further, there is the ego
Dude,
itself.
Riley wants to rent an
There is
RV
the
for our
feeling,
trip to Michigan for Christmas.
that inside us there is an
I
I
just
Why?
feel like that's excessive. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is.
receives experience and
She's saying
directs
that,
action.
and to her credit,
And this
like
is the
driving
inroads
there
of myself.
sucks, but like I don't feel
And we
like
have all, of
spending
course, been taught in this
multiple
day and age
$100s
that
on an
if this is not
RV
our
is gonna
soul,
make the
It
experience
is a function of our body.
enough
It is a chemical,
of a better experience.
chemical sort of efflorescence of
But
the
you can
brain,
quarantine in the RV.
feeling
Fuck.
of
What? We're literally gonna be in Michigan in 2 days. We're gonna sleep at my dad's both nights.
as I have told many of you before in various ways.
When are you going up?
We're
This
coming up
sensation
on.
of being
We're
a
gonna get there
separate
on
eye,
Christmas Day, and then we have
cut
to leave
off
the
from
27th.
all other eyes
Rough.
is an illusion.
Yeah, because
It's
I
a
mean I
pure
got the
hallucination.
before through the
Because that
27th
is not
off.
the way we are
Um,
functioning physically.
Actually,
We are
I
functioning
think I
physically
requested
not
the
as separate
23rd through the
entities,
27th,
but as
the 28th maybe.
Beings
Uh,
that live
but,
in
you
such
know,
a close
Riley
How could
doesn't-
that even
relationship
be
with
like
everything
100
else that
something
there
a
really
night
is no way of dividing us from
for
it.
the RV?
Well, she said that the
And
rate
so
for
you
the
see the
truck by
mystic,
itself is like
in
20 bucks, but
all
those things get like
times
fucking
and
literally
places,
6 miles to the gallon.
Discovers the illusory nature of this ego.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna look it up right now.
Wait,
and
20 bucks
realizes
a
with
night?
glorious shock
I don't believe that.
that the true
I
I
don't believe
myself,
Riley
Bear
for a
RV
second.
the
rentals
thing
and
that one
sales.
really is
There's no
fundamental,
way, dude.
is the
Unless it's $20
entire
initial
thing,
fee and then
They-
per mileage.
the works. The some people call it God, or Brahman, or the Tao, or whatever you want. The name doesn't make the slightest difference. Anyway, that fundamentally what you are is the witch than which there is no witcher. And so relax, don't worry. Because you don't, you see, this doesn't ordinarily come into consciousness.
Do I
in
have a
just the same
boat?
way that the structure of your brain doesn't ordinarily come into consciousness. It's very much there. But you don't see it directly, and you have no memory of it.
A
So in the
Class
same way,
C
you have no memory of
25-foot
being the
motorhome
witch
with
that
slide out
put it in
is
nature. There's no need to have a memory of that,
$100 daily vehicle rate.
because the thing doesn't need a memory.
Not a big one. That is.
Memories
There
are
gotta
only
be like
necessary for
100
creatures
Yeah,
have
that
to
is not a
defend
big
themselves.
one.
And to creatures that have problems. They
Like
need
when you
memory.
would strap onto like a
But
back
the
of a
perfectly
Jeep would
gloriously
probably
happy
be
person wouldn't remember anything,
80
because every
minutes.
experience would be completely satisfactory. All memory is really a form of regurgitation.
Like those like
of
little
undigested
mini ones that
experience.
have just like a bed and that's it.
But you
Because
see,
like
also,
those are,
don't
first
forget,
of all,
as we all know, memory
those
can be
in
fun.
general fucking
so
are
can books.
money pits. And second of all, it's
And,
renting it, therefore it's gonna be a
but
bigger money
memory
pit
isn't
for whoever
necessary
has it.
For the
But,
whole
I
thing.
guess you can't really fuck around with those as much. Can you do?
Except in
Fuck
some
yeah.
Daily
brief
rate
forms of
$250.
Yeah, sounds about
where
right.
the continuance of anything.
'Cause it's gonna be
at
at
all,
least
any
the
particular
same as a
form, is
hotel.
sort of memory,
You know,
in the sense that it's
Yeah,
And
that's
now
what,
it's on
that's what I was
wheels.
saying. We got into an argument on the way home
Gyration
because
of
I was like,
certain
that is so
physical vibration.
unnecessary and it's going to be so much more expensive than you think it is.
But it's possible. You see,
But it's
to wake
fun.
And
Okay,
realize
this website's
that your
smallest
ego is a game.
camper. It's not even a drive one, it's a tow behind.
and that what we call the necessity for survival is also a game. But society is playing a very, very weird game. The first rule of which is this game is not a game. This game is serious. And so
I found one for
the
$50 a
great
night.
social institutions that we inherit from the past, like the church,
40
are
pop?
places to be serious.
Just a pop?
Nightly rate
I don't think there ever was
$172,
a jester in church.
$170, $200. Those are their three options at this place.
How long
because
are you going
the
up
church
for?
formed itself around a particular jester.
We're gonna
And,
we're gonna be up like in
who
Michigan
couldn't be
for only
stood
2
and
nights.
so had to be crucified. This is too much.
So with what
The
would
whole
that be?
attitude,
4
you
days
see,
in total then?
Of the
Yeah, it'd be
church is
4
that you are
nights with
standing
the
in the
thing.
presence
And you can't
of
return it
the
until Monday.
most serious God the Father, who really is in earnest
And if
and
you,
no fooling.
there might be a
see?
super,
And
super
everybody has to
fucking
keep a straight face.
cheap pop-up one somewhere.
And so also in the court of law, in our excessively
But she
serious
wants one that we
society,
can,
I
like,
was
drive.
giving evidence not so long ago.
It's like
Uh,
No,
and the two
no,
defendants,
we're not even gonna be sleeping in it when we're there.
And the judge suddenly rapped his gavel and said, "You young men ought to realize that you're on trial for a very serious crime, and it's no joking matter. And I want to see proper behavior and conduct in this court." And the attorney stood up and said, "Your Honor, this is the first time they've ever been on trial, and they're not used to these things." And he said, "Well, it's about time they learned."
Oh, $60 a night? Car? Classy motorhome?
So you see, the thing is with the game, there's always the fear, the underlying fear that the game may be given away.
We'll just buy one for 4 days and then return it,
Now
say
that
it's
fear
not what you
isn't
want.
altogether
Yeah.
unreasonable,
I just purchase an RV with all my money.
because
And go all out, you
part
know?
of the fascination of games
Get a 200k plus one.
is to get involved and in a way to forget that they are games.
You deserve it, Jim.
The actor on the stage does his damnedest to persuade you
One more.
that
Yeah.
he is moving in the real world.
You gotta get a W somehow.
Oh my god, holy
And
shit.
children, love
There it
children,
is.
completely absorbed in
Damn,
their
these
game.
cues are popping.
And get the actual
Probably the
thrill of
same
adventure
exact group again.
in
Fucking
playing
10
at war
people.
and so on. And you see, one reason why people don't really want to know the future, why a really expert fortune teller gives most people a little bit of trepidation,
Good
is that
divorce.
if you know what the future is going to be,
People.
it is less worthwhile going ahead towards it.
Child boys in there too.
If you know the outcome, why bother? See, this is one of the ways we are trying to stop war.
Melee, I'm seeing it.
That at any immediate future date can predict the outcome of a war,
Oh, fuck.
so that it won't be necessary to fight it. But if we did fight, this would happen. So the person who gets the winner claims a diplomatic advantage, and we go on. So this is the reason, you see,
my
why
God.
we don't want.
I wish we got something that
Okay.
ain't gonna work. Ew, I got Sakachi to go winner up.
If we can make believe that the game is real, whatever that means, we are not really very clear about that. Somehow we know what it means in our bones if we don't know very well in our heads.
Oh,
What is we're always testing things out. What is for real? But when the whole world game becomes too real and people become too earnest, it's highly necessary to play a new game, which is the game of game against non-game. How far can you get away with giving the show away about the game?
I'm gonna go.
Nobody wants to go the whole hog
There's
until you're
no
ready to
fucking
find
way he
Nirvana.
gets Moonglaves, dude.
No, then you.
Yeah, I'm
That's
just
it.
gonna go fucking Moonglaves.
But in the meantime, the
Never
fascination
mind.
of seeing how to put together, knowing it's a game, and still playing. And doing this is what in Mahayana Buddhism is called being a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is a person who doesn't give his show away completely. He doesn't simply from playing the human game. He is released and yet still in it. He knows the human game is a game, but he goes on playing it with considerable gusto. Gusto derives in a great deal from the fact of knowing it's a game. And it's one of the peculiar properties of self-consciousness to be able to know it's a game and yet enjoy doing it.
Obligurky pop.
It's like being happy and knowing you're happy. Now, a lot of people are afraid of that. They feel that if the moment they say, well, I'm happy, that it'll somehow stop.
Victor,
That,
do you think that we should
Wow, now that you ask Riley, you know, Jimmy, I think
Of digesting your food.
What's he
He
saying?
said now that you asked,
Well,
he said,
enjoying
Jimmy, I
dinner
think you guys should do it.
very slowly emerges into disgust.
Oh, wait, a small would be what?
I think
needs
it's
to be
small.
like that.
That's so cute.
Yeah, that's
That's fine. And so in the same way, the doing something, being happy and knowing that you're happy, has about a certain quality of what I would call resonance. For example, if I talk in a room which is completely soundproofed, it's terrible, I can't stand it, there's no resonance, no little tiny echo. I feel I'm talking into the proverbial wet blanket. But if feedback that makes the thing vibrate a bit more than the word. So one gets feedback from another. It's much easier to talk to an audience.
Let's go, dude! 34 minutes! Holy fuck! Holy shit!
So we put
Damn, dude.
resonators that
That's
say
that's
a guitar
Pog.
or a violin has a
Oh.
it's a sounding box in it. That's the
Holy
resonator that
fuck,
makes
dude! My arm was shaking
And
so
so-
much I could barely place the
Yeah,
bed.
put your hand up to the
At
camera.
one
Put
time
your hand
was
up to the
called
camera.
glass, built by acoustic experts. So concert halls to give them the proper resonance. When resonance
Oh,
gets too
dude,
much, you know,
let's
it starts
fucking
scattering.
go.
It gets system of echoes set up.
33:57.
And
I almost beat
some of the old
XQC's
cathedrals
time.
which weren't built with acoustical knowledge, you can hear the echoes of a choir going on forever and ever and ever. It sounds very marvelous from a certain point of view,
Holy
but it's
shit,
not from a
I'm
musical
so
point of
fucking
view.
happy.
It's a kind of a, it's more sentimental.
That could have been so much better
And,
too if I, like,
We used even to be taught to
those
sing
blaze fights were so fucking
in
rough.
church
Holy
with an echo
shit.
technique in the voice.
Like, I could have been out at night. Did you see the portal room? Or where, like, the fortress?
I saw you looking for it, but I was
It's
either
not
playing
that
or
trickery,
picking
but
my
that's
ability,
little
and
It
I
was-
just saw you were in there.
It was ocean exposed and the portal room was exposed. So I just dug right into the portal room.
To play the
Oh, wow.
game and to know it's a game can be quite fascinating, and not really giving the show,
Those
Damn, that's
fucking
nuts.
but giving
pearl
it away
trades.
enough somehow. And
Yeah,
that,
you were
see,
like, dude, I'm
is
so
the-
pissed. I get these trades when I don't
Joker's
need them, when I'm not on a run.
Dude, I didn't
So-
see any. I walked around a bit before that and I didn't see
What
the
he is
fortress.
doing,
And I just got lucky that the way that I went, there was a
is he
fucking
is in a
fortress
point of
right
view
there.
where he sees
I was in the fortress
all
with the
that is
pearls
going
at
on
11 minutes.
as a game.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He doesn't take anything seriously. But don't forget that that doesn't mean that he is simply shallow.
Jesus,
frivolous.
my hands are so
Because,
shaky.
for example,
The
if
fuck?
somebody were to say to me, I love you, and I turned to them and said, are you serious? She might say, no,
I'm like all of a
I'm
sudden
sincere.
super cold.
because love isn't
10-minute
necessarily
PB?
serious.
10-minute PB, not bad.
You see, we use the word serious very frequently, where we should be using the word sincere. And the lack of proper delineation between these two words causes
Yeah, that's
a great deal
nuts.
of confusion. It's like the confusion about the word.
Yeah, as
must.
we were saying, you
must
should go
this,
do Sunshine.
whether it's a commandment or whether it's
Yeah,
a
you
condition.
should, because
You peaked.
it's gonna be a while before you beat that one, I think.
And, so in the same way, we need a clarification of must, and we need a clarification of serious.
What do you have
And it can
level
be
one?
divided down into serious
Go
on the
poison
one hand,
touch Shadow
or
Strike.
sincere on the other.
Honestly,
What is
Zero move
sincerity?
speed. Dude,
that
I'm
might
gonna
be a
get
free
Shadow
kill,
Strike.
because my shit refreshes every time I
Sincerity
attack
is
them.
Being integrated,
Yeah,
being all of a piece.
like
Now,
I
you
don't
see,
really
we
see
often
them
think that the person who doesn't take life seriously
being able to do
isn't all of a
anything
piece.
against
That is
it.
to say, his heart's not really in it. He is
no.
out here living, you see, and going along and talking to people. But the feeling is
Oh,
of an
that guy's so
insincere person, there's
fucked.
something in the back of his mind that isn't participating. That's
Oh,
what
his
worries
blind
people
lasted
about
just long
Oh.
enough so I couldn't refresh